Hey there YouTube, it's Nick with Feeding Fitness. Today's video is actually going to be a question I received over at the Feeding Fitness Facebook page. I think it's a really good topic. I was just going to answer it on the page, but I feel like it's good enough to do a video on. So I'm going to go ahead and read the question for you guys. This comes from subscriber, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Andrea Luca, and he said, "Hey, wondering if you could please help me. I've got 10 to 15 pounds to lose. I'm around 175. I'm at 14 to 15% body fat and my maintenance is 2,400 calories. I'm doing strong lifts 5x5 beginners 3 times a week. How should I approach this cut? What sort of deficit? And how can I implement cardio without affecting recovery?" I replied back, "Have you already been cutting up to this point?" And he said, "No, I've been taking a 2-week maintenance break," which is a very good idea. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and tackle this question. Basically what we're talking about is that final body fat push, that 15 to 10%, that aiming for the single digits. It's what we're all trying to do around the summertime. And I'm actually trying to do this myself right now, so I'm going through a lot of the same things. The biggest key is that we've started early enough so it's conceivable that we'll get this done at some point this summer. I don't know how this happens to everyone. Summer starts the same time every year and everybody panics about getting cut for summertime. If you start early enough, you can get there. So anyways, that being said, what should he do and how do I approach this situation? Alright, first, I like your workout program. Strong Lifts 5x5 is a great beginner's program, and it's basically heavy compounds, total body. You're doing it 3 times a week. That's going to be good. The one thing I will say is you're going to be cutting, you're going to be in a caloric deficit, so recovery is at a premium. You might not be able to handle the volume of a 5x5. I personally can't really take that much volume when I'm cutting. What I would recommend is go by how you feel in the gym. Some days you might only be able to do like a 3x5, which is fine. You're cutting, you're not going to gain a lot of muscle and strength on a cut. Your goal is to maintain muscle and strength. So as long as you're not taking weight off the bar, if you can only get 3 sets on most exercises, that's okay. Now if you're in the gym and you're just generally feeling good and you're having a good day in there, sure, go for your 5x5. But if your body is just kind of telling you, this is all I've got today, a 3x5 is okay. People always want to add volume on a cut. They think, I need to maintain my muscle mass, so I'm going to throw more at my body, and that is completely incorrect. When you're cutting, especially when you're trying to get to single-digit body fat, you have to reduce volume and reduce frequency without reducing intensity. What does that mean? That means you can go to the gym less often, you can do less while at the gym, but you cannot reduce intensity. And in this case, intensity means weight on the bar. Do not take your weight down. Like I said, you might not be able to do your 5x5 sets, but if you can do a 3x5 and keep that weight on there, that's fine. I generally go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week when I'm bulking, and when I'm cutting, it's 3 times a week. My total sets in the gym may be above 40 on a bulk. I can handle a lot of volume when calories are flush. But when I'm cutting hard, some days I get in there 18 sets. Really, that's all I can handle. And that's total body. I'm in and out. My workouts take under an hour because you're just not going to recover like you should when you're in a caloric deficit. So as far as training, I like your workout, 3 day a week, total body, heavy compounds. Cut the volume if you need to, but whatever you do, do not lose that intensity. Do not take weight off the bar. Now, more importantly, diet. Diet is going to be the key, as it always is. Anytime we're talking fat loss, diet is the key. More so true, I wouldn't say more so, but just as true as when you're trying to get to 10% single-digit type body fat. So what do we have to do about our diet? We're not going to do anything crazy different from what I would recommend to anybody trying to lose fat. Few things. Now you said you maintain at about 2,400 calories. To start, I would maybe eat 2,000. That leaves you a little bit of wiggle room if you have to reduce calories a little bit later, down to 1,900 or 1,800, which is kind of bottom barrel. I wouldn't go lower than that. But let's start with 2,000. That'll give you nearly a pound a week deficit just from diet. So macronutrients, nothing crazy. We're going to stick to, the same. Try and get at least 0.4 grams of fat per pound of body weight. Protein, this is just my opinion. When I'm cutting hard and trying to get super lean, I eat more protein than I need. You only need about 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass in your body. But when you're cutting and you're cutting hard, you can go up to 1.5 grams, maybe even 2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. Yes, I know this is more than you need, but there are a couple of reasons. First, protein is very satiating, it's very filling, it's going to help you stick to these low calorie numbers. Second, it has a high thermic effect of food. Your body has to work harder to digest protein and to use it as it does fats and carbs. The body can pretty readily store fat without much work and can burn through carbs without much work. Protein, on the other hand, requires energy to be used. So if a greater percent of your diet comes from protein, you will actually build up some caloric deficit just due to its thermic effect of food. It's nothing that I track or nothing that I try and figure out how much extra. I consider it a bonus, but you can up your protein and get more than the required amount. You will have to sacrifice carbs for that, and carbs come in handy when you're trying to train, so it's kind of a balance. This is more a personal thing. If you can train decent at a low level of carbs, then I suggest upping the protein. If you absolutely need those carbs to get through your workout, then eat the minimum amount of protein, the minimum amount of fat, and dump the rest into carbs. So we've got your kind of diet plans, we've got your workout plans, cardio. Now a lot of guys will tell you when you get that lean you can't do any cardio because you're going to lose all your muscles. Well, they're idiots. You're not going to lose all your muscles. I think that myth kind of got started. Guys like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, who are giant beasts on all sorts of anabolic steroids and have so much mass that if they start doing tons and tons of cardio, they're going to lose pounds and pounds of muscle. Naturals like us, who don't have hundreds and hundreds of pounds of lean body mass, aren't going to have that trouble. You can get away with a moderate amount of cardio without sacrificing any muscle. Now I would say if you're lifting 3 days a week, at max, you can devote the other 3 days a week to cardio and 1 day total rest day. I really think you need 1 day that you don't lift, you don't do cardio, it's just your rest day. So of your 3 days of cardio, I would recommend 2 days of LISS and 1 day of HIIT. For those of you who don't know what those terms are, LISS is your low intensity steady state cardio. This can be walking on a treadmill, a stair climber, walking in an incline, or jogging. It's just your typical what you think of when you think of cardio. Again, 2 days of that, maybe 30, 40 minutes. Personally, I like to jog 3 or 4 miles, and that's really it for that. And then your 1 day of HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. That's a whole nother topic. I'll probably do a whole video on that. If you want to know what that is, go ahead and Google it. It's HIIT, high intensity interval training. There's plenty of ways to accomplish it. It only takes about 20 minutes. I would devote 1 day to that. I don't think that's too much cardio. That should be enough to create a deficit to where you're losing about 1 pound a week. Now something else I really want to talk about. When you get lean, I'm talking 15% body fat and below, the scale will be your worst enemy. Do not trust it. Do not get caught up in what you weigh. Water fluctuations will be abundant. You will retain water because you're cutting on a fairly severe deficit. Your cortisol levels are going to be increased. Your general stress level is going to be increased. All of that is going to cause you to hold water. So it's really going to play with you. You might wake up and look visibly leaner in the mirror. You can tell you're looking better, but the scale is just not showing that. It's not showing that. Be patient. Okay, here's a little real life example of this happening. All right, right now it's Saturday. On Monday, I did a carbohydrate refeed, and I'm going to explain what that is in a second. The day after, I woke up and I weighed 208 pounds. It was a pretty significant weight gain for me. Today is Saturday. I weigh 198 pounds. I lost 10 pounds just from Tuesday to Saturday. Was any of it real weight? Barely, maybe tops a pound of fat, tops. It was all water weight. On my refeed day, I ate over 700 carbs and somehow got in 8 grams of sodium. The combination of those two things caused me to pool a ton of water. And the body can hold a whole lot of water, excess water that it doesn't need. In my case, over a gallon. But in the course of those few days, you know, from Tuesday to today, I lost 10 pounds. And that's why the scale is so misleading. So weigh yourself, track it, but don't put too much faith in it. Over the long term, if you weigh yourself and take averages over the weeks and even over a course of a month, you should see a downtrend. It's not going to be a straight line, it's going to be a jagged line, but it's ultimately going to be moving downwards. So kind of don't ignore the scale, but don't put all your faith in it. Trust the mirror more than the scale, always. I'm going to link an article Lyle McDonald wrote about squishy fat and whooshes. For those of you dieting towards single-digit body fat, read this. It will talk a lot more about why you can't trust the scale. The final thing I'm going to talk about goes back to diet. It's a refeed. And what is a refeed? Do you need to do a refeed? You know, a refeed is basically a day where you're going to try and keep fats low, your protein at what you have every day, carbohydrates extremely high, and you're going to eat at or slightly above maintenance. Now, I can't tell you how often you're going to need this. Right now, I'm weekly refeeding. Some of you might need it every 2 weeks, some of you might not need it at all. You're going to go by how you feel. If you're just in the gym and your workouts are suffering and you're not able to perform, it might be time for a refeed. And basically what you want to do is, like I said, eat your normal amount of protein, keep fats as low as possible, 30 to 40 grams, and then dump the rest into carbohydrates. For me, that meant a day of eating 200 grams of protein, 30 grams of fat, and over 700 carbs. I ate an entire box of Cheerios, 6 bagels, the better part of a quart of fat-free ice cream, and a few other things. But if you want, you can look back to my MyFitnessPal. It's all in there. And I'll be having another one of those refeeds coming up this Monday. But those are my basic strategies to hitting that nice 10%, 9% body fat. If you have ambitions to get lower body fat than that, I'm also going to link a book by Lyle McDonald. Lyle really knows what he's talking about. Dig through his site. But his book, The Stubborn Fat Solution, will basically describe what you do after you hit 10% body fat if you want to keep getting lean. I don't have experience with that. I've never been that lean, and personally, I don't even desire to get that lean. I think at that point, you stop looking aesthetically pleasing and start generally looking a little weird. That's more for contest prep, but if that's your ambition, I will link that for you. So, Andrea, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, feel free to ask me more on the Facebook page. And if any of you guys have questions, please ask. And if it's a good enough question, it'll end up in a video. So please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time.